Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. We will begin the next great chapter in America's story with 3 words that will bring from coast to coast, from sea to shining sea. Yes, we can! What does this radio broadcast, this televised inauguration address, and this YouTube speech have in common? Each of these 3 characterized a presidency, that of Franklin Roosevelt, of John Kennedy, and of Barack Obama, respectively. Consider Franklin Roosevelt. During his presidency, radio set the standard for communication between the president and the American people. This medium perfectly suited Roosevelt because he possessed a clear, deep, and powerful voice which captivated his audience. With eyes closed, one could almost imagine him sitting by the fireside, carrying on a conversation face to face. In the 21st century, very few of us turn to radio for our daily news, and not every family owns a television. However, nearly every one of our American households uses a computer to access the internet daily. If Americans associate Roosevelt with radio and Kennedy with television, then we most definitely associate Barack Obama with popular internet websites such as Twitter and YouTube. With a voice as impressionable as Roosevelt's and an image as iconic as Kennedy's, Obama appeals to the auditory and the visual senses of the American public. Clearly, from the dawn of the 20th century to the present, electronic media has altered the way the American public views the presidential election. The changes in attitude towards the leadership of the United States can be most easily measured in the elections and tenures of these 3 media-made presidents. Audio and visual technology has put a great pressure on presidents and candidates for the presidency for the last several decades. Pressure to look like Americans believe a leader should look, and pressure to sound like Americans believe a leader should sound. Politicians have placed a great focus on their public appeal through radio, television, and the internet. Likewise, we as Americans have begun to value image over content, charm over principle, good speeches over good actions. In his book, God Won't Vote This Year, David Zanotti summarizes this reality with these words. The American people want either a talk show host or a movie star for president. If they cannot find the perfect candidate, they will settle for someone who can come on television and make them feel better. That's what we the people want. We want inspired leadership. Politicians have used and will continue to use new technology to give themselves the best advantage in races such as the presidential campaign. Roosevelt, Kennedy, and Obama illustrate just how effective these mediums are. However, we the people have the ability and the responsibility to utilize these very same mediums to hold our politicians accountable to the things they say and do. Only by taking action and being willing to invest the time to find the truth in the things they say and do can we begin to hold our leaders up to a much-needed standard. Clearly, our politicians can talk the talk. The time has come to make them walk the walk. Thank you.
Abigail, we've learned this year how imagery enhances message in literature. Why then do you claim that images detract from message in the mediums of TV and internet?
Thank you for that question, Mrs. May. This year in literature, we have learned that images enhance the message. However, there is a fundamental difference between imagery in literature and images in media, and that is imagery in itself is made of words and is the message. In modern media, as Marshall McLuhan would say, the medium is the message and has taken the place, what we see and what we hear, has taken the place of what our politicians are actually saying. And as Mr. Swift has said earlier, we need to know who we are electing. That means we as Americans have the responsibility to look beyond the surface and know what our leaders stand for, and not just that they have a great face and great teeth.
Abigail, approval and popularity ratings for President Obama have hit an all-time low despite his uncanny ability to use social networking and media to his advantage. To what then would you attribute this drop in approval or popularity, and what should be the takeaway for other politicians or political candidates?
Thank you for that question, Mrs. Clark. I recently looked into a Facebook town hall meeting that President Obama broadcasted over Facebook, I believe it was less than a week ago, in which out of his 19 million Facebook friends, barely 4,000 had confirmed attendance to watch this, and according to many different sources, a number not over 22,000 had actually viewed the town hall meeting. Those who watched saw that the president only answered 8 questions, and many of them were easy questions. The American people, after hearing the same things over and over and over, have become tired of seeing very little change actually taking place. Now, politicians should beware from this, because President Obama cannot claim a misunderstanding on his part, because with the internet, as he's using it now, the American people are hearing the words straight out of his mouth. There's no spin or twisting of his message. Now it doesn't just depend on what Sean Hannity on Fox News tells me what he thinks of Obama. It matters what I heard with my own ears of what he's saying. And politicians need to beware, because the American people now have the ability to track what politicians are saying directly and what they've actually done. And if those two things don't begin to match up, they will be voted out.
Abigail, unlike the softball questions that were pitched to President Obama at the Facebook video, I'm not going to give you one. Instead, I'd like to follow up on your answer that you've just given here and tie it to a concern that I have. You want politicians to not only talk the talk, but walk the walk, and you want us to hold them accountable. Is it possible that even if some of our present media, like Facebook and Twitter, go the way of MySpace, is it possible that those can be tools that we use to hold them accountable?
Thank you for that question, Dr. Grant. Yes, we can use these same social media networks to hold our politicians accountable with the things they say. However, it's not enough merely to listen to what they are saying and what they are promising. Instead, we must take it a step further and examine their actions. In an age of technology never before imagined, I can pull a device, as he called it earlier, the anything. I can pull it out of my pocket and access information almost anywhere in the world. And yet, many people do not take this responsibility seriously. Using a simple search engine such as Google, I can find several reliable websites that hold congressional voting records that go back at least 2 decades. These are not giving opinions on policies passed. These are simply websites that show each member of Congress and how they have voted. And if I have been paying attention to what they are saying, to what my representative or my president has been saying, it is very easy to simply examine what they voted for and see if the two match up.